Hello everybody and welcome to another video related to the Lightspeed bundle packs. A little bit slow to get this one out, but this is my first order video. It might take you a while to get Supreme Leader Kylo Ren after buying this BB-8 pack, which is really just the full first order faction other than Supreme Leader Kylo at R5. It might take you some time to get him, but we can make use of the pieces in the meantime. But there's not too much to this faction, so you might not get more than one good team per Grand Arena 5v5, maybe two in 3v3, but still it is it's probably the best value we've ever seen in the game. Like this specific pack, 10 bucks. If you didn't farm first order at all, just a massive advantage. So listen up and hopefully you can find out how to use your new first order. While it might be a while before you get him, there's two options mainly for a first order lineup once you do have Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. And really it just revolves around, do you want first order officer in the team or do you want first order stormtrooper? Both are kind of vulnerable to getting beat by Giant Knight Revan and Giant Knight Luke if you put them on defense. And on offense, you just gotta decide whether you want some extra survivability and maybe some more assists more, or do you want a turn pass back to Supreme Leader Kylo with first order officer. I'll get into the mechanics and like Zetas and ability mats in a little bit, but those are the two main options once you have him. Before you have Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, there's really not too much you can do. The Generalist team, it might be this. So we got Hux Lead, Sith Trooper, and Kylo Ren Unmasked. Probably the big three in this faction. And then it depends if you want to get some extra turn meter and extra damage. First order Executioner adds some extra damage to the team. Kylo Ren has some extra turn meter. But when you don't have Supreme Leader Kylo Ren on the team, first order officer, not doing too much. There's not anyone you really want to pass turns back to, and not super concerned about that. But you could slot him in. There's a lot of useless characters in the first order faction, and I'll highlight that at the end. If you do get the first order TIE Pilot Omicron, which I do very much recommend for Grand Arena, it's very strong. Let's just take a look at what it does. It's just so much stuff. It's a book. You get like basically 100% speed, or not plus 100% speed, plus 100 speed, plus 50% max health, 50% crit damage, 100% tenacity while they have advantage, health and protection recovery. He gets advantage whenever he gets bonus turn meter, which happens a lot. You get foresight on the team. It's really strong. You can't use it alongside Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, but it keeps the team alive a long time and gets a lot of damage out there. But if you run that, you want to run Hux Lead. I think in general, Hux Lead you're going to want to use a lot. Sith Trooper, Kylo Ren Unmasked. Then probably First Order Executioner here with the Omicron, just to get extra damage over time, because you're getting some assists with Hux. But that last spot is kind of flexible. You could just use OG Kylo Ren, maybe First Order Stormtrooper, just to get some extra protection. That spot is pretty malleable. Another Omicron you want to consider is the Captain Phasma Omicron. Now, you'll notice I don't have it. I don't have her Zeta or her Omicron, because it is a TW Omicron, and I don't know, I'm selfish and use a lot for Grand Arena, but it is a fantastic Omicron. I'm not exactly an expert on the counter because I don't have it, but just like always, Hux and Sith Trooper are nice there. First Order Stormtrooper for the assist is good. Maybe First Order Officer can make it, but First Order Executioner for the damage too. Her leadership ability, you just get tons of turn meter. You get lots of extra speed on Captain Phasma. She gets to go out the gate, give everyone turn meter, and then for the rest of whenever they gain advantage, they gain 10% offense stacking, which is huge, and then 7.5% turn meter. So it's just, you get out of the gate, run circles around the enemy, and take them out. I will say, I know it's a offense-focused Omicron. Putting it on defense is a lot easier to beat, but on offense you can beat some Galactic Legends with it, although, again, I'm not an expert on that counter, but I've heard you could beat Lord Vader with it. Not exactly sure this is the right comp, but very strong on offense in TW. And when we get to 3v3, if you have Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, I like the lineup Hux with Kylo Ren Unmasked. Another option, a lot of people use Wat Tambor or the armor with it. Some varying combination of that, maybe Wat Tambor and Kylo Ren Unmasked. But Kylo Ren, or Supreme Leader Kylo, Hux, and Kylo Ren Unmasked can beat Jawa very, very consistently. It's just a strong overall team. And he's super useful in 3v3. Just can't get enough of him in 3s. If you don't have him, and you're not using Hux, this is the best team for the First Order TIE Pilot Omicron. What happens is you get a lot of extra speed, and you get to go first with Hux most of the time, and you can usually just use this ability, full send, a mass assist on one target, and they die. pretty much. You got to pick your targets, but Sith Trooper and First Order TIE Pilot deal out serious damage. Sith Trooper can cleanse and give out advantage to the team with this ability. And this team is all about keeping advantage on. Hux is just very nice preventing turn meter on the enemy team. If you have a Zeta, and his lead has counter chance a lot of the time. Just a really strong 3v3 team. And then, especially in like the lower tiers, like Carbonite, Bronzium, I think you could get a lot of mileage out of Kylo Ren, and First Order Executioner as a defensive team. These two are really hard to get by, unless they have insta-kills, but they're more or less immune to death by 1,000 cuts. Either need some big damage or insta-kills. And then First Order Executioner can really ramp up in the meantime, because he stacks his offense. He stacks his max health, and if you have the Omega ability, he's getting offense whenever his max health is increased, and he kind of gives himself some extra health with his basics. So that's a decent defensive team. Other than that, the First Order faction doesn't have a whole lot of comps to use. It's more of a one-trick pony faction. Next, I want to rank the first 10 Omega abilities you want to give out in the First Order faction. Omegas are something you can get all of them out eventually, but in the beginning, when you buy this pack, you might be strapped for Omegas, so I just want to provide some guidance. The first one is Hux's lead. His lead doesn't require a Zeta. He's from a time when Marquis got one Zeta, and it was a lot easier to deal with. And you're going to see a pattern here, because Hux is pretty great within the First Order faction. This leadership, the text is pretty big, but mainly it gives them counter chance. It prevents counters from the enemy team, as long as Hux has dominance. Which he gets by getting advantage, and yeah, and some extra crit damage on the team. It's a very strong Omega, and as the primary leadership you're going to be using, put that on first. Next, another Hux one, Devious Scheme. It's his first special, or maybe it's his second special. He just passes a turn to an ally, and if he has advantage, he resets their cooldowns. That's most valuable with Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, honestly, but even before, it's really strong. You could just double stun two characters with Kylo Ren unmasked if you wanted to, or get some extra damage with Sith Trooper. A lot of stuff you could do, just really great Omega. And then third, yet again, another Hux one. This is his first special. It's his Mass Assist. If he has advantage, you're going to dispel all buffs from all enemies, and that can't be stopped. So even if they have a million buffs with Foresight, you're going to get rid of it, which is super valuable. Mass Assist happens without the Omega, but still that Omega adds a ton to the ability. Number 4, First Order Officer. He's not always in our comps. He's a lot of the time with Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. But the big thing about this special, this Omega helps remove turn meter, or increases the chance of it, and then the cooldown reduction is the most valuable. Just reduce all cooldowns of your whole First Order team by 1. Super valuable. And that's something people need to know how to use strategically. Don't use it his first move if he's going before other allies, because you want to wait until you've used those specials to start reducing their cooldowns. Number 5, Kylo Ren Unmasked. This is a simple one. It's his first special, Halt. It just dispels buffs on an enemy and stuns them for 1 turn, and it's irresistible. And since it's a non-damaging attack, it can stun someone and remove buffs even if they have Foresight. So super valuable. A 2-turn stun is pretty rare, much less an irresistible one. Can be dispelled, but really, really great. Next, Victory March. This is more so if you are running an Omicron Captain Phasma, but you're reducing the cooldown and increasing the chance that you're going to get into an infinite turn meter loop with Omicron Captain Phasma. Otherwise, I mean, it's kind of nice if you want to throw it in the team, but it's really just for that territory war team. Number 7, Marching Orders. This is First Order Officer's first special. It reduces the cooldown of the ability, and it also, the character you're passing turn meter to, you're dispelling all debuffs from them and giving them tenacity up. So it's just pretty useful, the dispel in particular. Number 8, we got Double Tap. This is First Order TIE Pilot's basic. You mainly want this if you have the Omicron, just extra damage, and you gain advantage on the second attack if it's a critical hit. Since you're critically hitting all the time, and it's so important to have advantage on First Order TIE Pilot for a lot of those clauses in his Omicron to activate. This is an amazing Omega. If you have applied that Omicron, I feel like you would have had enough Omegas to do this, but still rank number 8. Number 9, this is First Order Executioner. And this is really what makes him valuable at all. If you're going to use him at all in those comps I showed you, you want this Omega. They both start with the same 2 letters. Why'd they do that? But First Order Executioner has bonus offense equal to 5% of his max health. So a lot of times he wants to be modded for health. His health stacks over time, which translates to more defense or offense. He used to be kind of nice in raids back in the Legacy days. Now you're not going to see that, but in PvP, going to be nice, a nice bonus. And then number 10, after this, it starts to fall off. This one isn't even that amazing. This is from Sith Trooper's AoE. And he gets extra bonus damage for how many allies have died. So what happens if you're taking the team and your allies start dying off, except Sith Trooper, he gets to take a bunch of turns if you have a Zeta and deal a lot of damage, and that just increases the punishment you're going to give if they've taken out some of your allies. So those are the top 10 Omegas, not the only ones to apply, but I think these are the first 10 you want to look as far as impact. A lot of the others are like just extra damage or not something super consequential. Now we're going to take a look at some Zetas. There's only 5 I'm recommending. I don't even have that many. One of these I don't even actually have, but it might be worth it for you. Number 5, this is the one I don't have. OG Kylo Ren. You're going to have him at R7 for Supreme Leader Kylo. And this ability, this Zeta, is what allows him to solo some teams. So if you're in a lower area of Grand Arena, like Carbonite or Bronzium, this might be worth it. It's extra damage, but mainly you recover protection equal to the amount of damage dealt. So you can solo Cartho Nasty teams if you just got like him and a couple others. Even in 5v5, just Old Republic teams, you can solo. But pretty strong otherwise. Even if he's in a full team, it still like works. He's just gonna stay alive and can really help like a maybe timeout team if you're using Kylo Ren on mask and Kylo Ren on defense. Number 4, we got First Order Stormtrooper, and in my opinion, until you have this Zeta on him, his value is severely reduced. This basically gives him a chance to call an assist whenever he uses an ability, and as long as they're First Order, the damage output of that assist is not reduced. Really valuable once you have Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. Even before, this increases his value a ton, and he gives out advantage, which is very key to the whole First Order faction, and it's a fleeting buff. Anytime you crit, it goes away. So always nice to get a little bit more advantage. Other than that, he's just a okay tank, but the assist chance is really what makes him shine. Number 3 is Kylo Ren on Mask's Scarred unique Zeta. This basically gives him a pre-taunt and increases his counter chance while he's taunting. So in the past, the better Zeta for Kylo Ren Unmasked was his leadership. However, that is a very short-lived value. I wouldn't recommend putting it on unless you're just going to be stuck using him as a lead for a long time. But if you really want to make that double Kylo Ren First Order Executioner lineup work, his lead will be recommended. In the long term, I never use it. And that's why I didn't put it on this list. So just bear that in mind. The pre-taunt ability is timeless. It lasts forever. You're always going to make use out of it. Pre-taunts are hard to come by. So that's why I recommend this at number 3. Super valuable. Number 2, we got Ember's Legacy from Sith Trooper. This basically gives him a bonus turn anytime another First Order or Sith ally is defeated. That's what's nice about Sith Trooper. He's not just First Order, he's Sith. So he can slide into different teams. If for some reason you were going to use him on your own First Order team, or you're just not going to use your First Order team in general, he slots into another faction, which is really flexible. This is where he starts going off. I mean, that's why you like this team on offense a lot of times. If people start going down, they don't target your Sith Trooper, he can deal massive damage with repeated AoEs because he resets that cooldown too. And the best Zeta for the whole faction, other than Supreme Leader Kylo Ren's Zetas, is Balanced Ambition from Hux. This is his unique, and it prevents all turn meter gain on the enemy while Hux has advantage. When this came out, it was not gated behind First Order allies, like a whole team of First Order. It was just flat, and people would use this under a Darth Revan team to beat General Skywalker, who was the meta at the time before Galactic Legends came out. He would have been so valuable if they just let that stay, but as it is, it's still a really valuable Zeta. That's something only really him and Jedi Master Kenobi can do, is stop turn meter altogether on the enemy team. You need him to have advantage, so I'd try to avoid actually attacking with him or just keep trying to get advantage back to him. Really important if you're going to try to take on a team that has a lot of turn meter. And those are the top 5. Now we're going to talk about modding for the First Order faction. I'll talk about Supreme Leader Kylo on his own. after this. But this is a fairly forgiving faction as far as modding. Like, you don't have to be over the top with anything as far as like speed goes. If you do have good speed to spare, Hux is a great character to give speed to. Same with tenacity. He has a really high base tenacity. It's over 100% at gear 13. And just anything extra makes it really unlikely that it's going to get debuffs. I didn't lean into it a lot, but if I have fast tenacity mods, I throw them on him. And I also kind of neglect mine. 123 speed is not high. But he makes good use out of the speed. He's the one you want fastest on the team. They get out in front. He does a full send. If you have first order TIE Pilot Omicron, you can basically kill someone off in 3v3 or even 5v5. It's going to be even stronger. I'm just not used to using that in 5v5 because I have Supreme Lord Kylo Ren. So Hux, some speed, some tenacity. Don't really worry about damage on him or anything. I just try to find the fastest secondaries for that second extra set. Sith Trooper, I think you really want offense and crit chance. His crit chance is not so high that you're just always going to crit. You do get advantage a lot, so you might not always need crit chance, but just damage, crit damage triangle, that's like the prototype for damage dealers. It's just offense sets with either crit chance if they need it as a secondary set or health. Focus on just damage, 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 and then a little bit of speed. He does like health more than protection. He's just not a super high priority for modding for me, so he's getting a protection circle, but he really likes health. He has a lot more health. But yeah, he just wants a lot of damage, so focus on that for him. Kylo Ren Mass, he's flexible between three things, defense, health, and protection. I'd recommend all defense sets if you can manage it. Defense or health sets, although defense is more impactful. And he has pretty good health and protection. It's more or less even. So if you have 6 health mods or health primaries, you can slap those on him, but those are harder to come by in the early game. So protection will be just fine. But he does want a lot of health because when he takes damage, he recovers health. So he might just come down to only having health left. That's the disadvantage of giving him protection. But the way I use him is I have Wat Tambor a lot. He's recovering protection a lot of times under Supreme Lord Kylo lead. So both of them are fine. But defense, it's going to be a big impact for him. He doesn't have the highest base defense in the game. But defense sets, their impact is much bigger than health sets. That's what I recommend there. Pretty flexible among those three things. You don't care about damage on him. You don't really care about potency either. He inflicts tenacity down, which is irresistible. This is irresistible, the stun. And then this doesn't really do any debuff. So don't really need to worry about potency. Tenacity, there's probably some reason you could want that, but I just like defense, protection, and health. OG Kylo Ren, depends how you're using it. If you want to solo, I think you want to build him up with more protection so you can recover that and stay on top of it. I think offense is better for him than crit damage. Mine is not a priority at all, so it's not like my mods are a great example. But this ability can't crit, but it does do damage, bonus damage equal to 50% of his crit damage. So it's kind of like a half crit. So if you want to put some crit damage on him, that helps with the outrage ability. Not as much with the AoE. You might want to just do offense, but either way. And a little bit of speed, because he can get the turn meter train going on these teams. All allies gain 25% turn meter. So if you put him on that team like Captain Phasma and Territory War, he's going to be a big part of that. So give him a little bit of speed. But health, make him bulky. I don't really know how to mod him precisely. The first order TIE Pilot, similar to Sith Trooper, just damage. I'd go for health secondary set instead of crit chance, because he has a pretty high crit chance to begin with. And also, I think you might gain a little bit of extra here. Yeah, plus 30% crit chance and 30% crit damage. So you could run a crit damage set. I just prefer offense pretty much all the time with relic characters. But it's up to you. If you have crit damage, that would work just as well. You don't need a ton of speed on him because he's going to gain a lot of turn meter. But maybe a little bit of speed. Mine's really neglected. I have not used him in a long time, so don't draw on what I actually have as an example. First Order Stormtrooper, I think you really want a lot of protection. He's not like Kylo Ren where he's just recovering health all the time. And protection is easier to come by. So defense sets with protection primaries, that's basically it. You don't need damage on him. He's just, you want him to stay alive and assist or counter. And I have pitiful speed on him, so Let there be an encouragement to you if you're trying to use this guy. I don't really care about him taking turns. He could get one more chance for more assists, but as long as he's taunting, he's doing most of his job. And Phasma, once again, I'm not an expert, but mainly you want speed on her, maybe some survivability, but potency is also a big thing. On the triangle, I think you want either crit damage or crit chance, because you're really just trying to get kills in that turn meter loop. And this is just assuming you're in TW and you have the Omicron. It's all about looping the enemy team, and you are going to need her to do some damage too. But the speed down is something nice. AoE speed down really helps out that a lot, and the defense down on her basic. So potency wouldn't hurt there as well. First order officer, mainly just speed. I don't even have him that fast, really. If you have the ship for him, you just want 6-dot mods. But I gave him some health just because he has a little bit more health than protection. I don't really care about his damage, but I gave him crit damage because he will be critting. It was just like whatever I had as a 6-dot mod. It doesn't even have speed on the secondary. That's why I have it on him. But he's not like, I don't know. It's hard to mod him wrong. You just want some speed so he can pass turns off, but he's not really doing a lot of damage or surviving a long time. First order executioner. Can you tell I didn't use him? I'm missing a mod. You want health, a lot of health. You can go for offense too, because his health translates to offense, but just getting him offense flat out the gate is going to lead to more damage more quickly. I'm not a good example because I don't use him. But yeah, health and offense mainly. I mean, speed is always nice for everyone, but I wouldn't say it's like a massive speed priority. And first order special forces TIE pilot, perhaps the least important first order character. You might use him sometimes. I mean, he does have a ship, so give him some mods, like 5-dot mods. I mainly want damage, not a huge speed priority. I literally don't care about his mods, so don't look at mine. He might want some potency because he does inflict defense down and he can inflict a stun this way. But if you are using him, it's probably with an Omicron Captain Phasma. If you're trying to use 2 full first order teams, you might draw on him. Otherwise, just not really a consequential character, honestly. And now the big guy himself, Supreme Leader Kylo. When you unlock him, I think you should be ready to take him to at least Relic 7. He's great with R8. I took him all the way to R9. So that's not like an indication of what you need to do right away, but I think Relic 7 should at least be in your mindset. As far as Zetas, his Zetas aren't as like incredible as like Rey's, I wouldn't say. But you definitely do want the leadership first. This gives the basically crit immunity quality for having advantage on the team, and if you have Hux on the team, everyone gets advantage to start, and they get a bonus based on it. Tanks taunt, so every tank he has, every first order tank has a pre-taunt, or actually every dark side tank. Attackers get crit damage up, and support and healers gain turn meter, which actually hurts them under his lead, because whenever under his unique, actually, like when you gain turn meter, they get weaker health and protection wise. So Hux and first order officer are going to get weaker over time. Second one, I think, is Stasis Strike. This gives you an irresistible 2-turn stun, undispellable, super valuable. That's going to play into a lot of the rest of his kit. So that's number 2 priority. Number 3 is Galactic Legend, the same one every Galactic Legend has. More durability based on relic amplifier levels and overall damage reduction by 30%. Super valuable. This is a lot of what makes Galactic Legends the way they are. I mean, without it, you still can't be like stunned or anything, but this damage reduction and extra thickness is clutch. Next, I think we want Furious Onslaught. Like, it's a toss-up between this and the basic. Furious Onslaught, they both have to do a stun. This gives you double mastery, Siphon Mastery when the target is stunned, but a lot of people just miss that. Like, they have it had it applied for a long time and they might forget about that. The basic, if the target is stunned, you deal damage again, so it's a 3rd time, because normally you do damage twice. So it's a triple hit on stunned enemies, then you gain advantage for 2 turns. I think the priority is the special, but the basic, they're not too different. The basic is just going to give you more ultimate charge from hitting a stunned enemy and more damage. The last one, and it's not like you could get away with, you could almost get away with never doing this. It would just make him more susceptible to Jedi Knight Rev encounters. His unique. He's immune to stagger, which always kind of puzzled me. It's a very specific debuff, and it only lists the one. He's immune to stagger. Like, okay. And they can't gain taunt effects, so that's like marked. So you can't mark him down with Jedi Knight Rev or anything. That's not super important. In Conquest, you can't use him as your voluntary Vanguard character. So I don't know. If he's your workhorse in Conquest, you might not even want to apply that. It just depends. But yeah, the Zetas, I mean, he's still kind of decent without some Zetas, but the Stasis Strike is amazing, Leadership's amazing, and Galactic Legend is pretty amazing. Regarding mods, there's three main philosophies that people differ on. You can focus on speed primarily, damage primarily, and some people like to focus on health primarily, and they're all viable in their own ways. If you're using him in 3v3 for Slugfest against Lord Vader, health might be the way to go. For a lot of other instances, speed and offense are great. You don't need him blazing fast. I do think I have him pretty fast, 579. Just cycle through more turns, just siphon more, lead to more damage, and maybe outrun the opposing Lord Vader if you end up facing a Lord Vader. But yeah, it's kind of a toss-up. It depends what you have available. Crit damage triangle, always. If anyone wants a crit damage triangle, it is him. His mastery is crit chance, crit damage, and damage. He increases his mastery through the roof through his ramping mechanics. Just to touch on that. So when you use the special, you get 20 stacks of siphon. If you crit, it's 40. You also gain 10 siphon for doing a basic. And that siphon is above his head, and it turns into mastery gain. I've talked about this in my mastering video, but it is kind of complicated, so I want to touch on here. The way he turns that siphon, there's that blue number above his head, into actual stats is with his AoE. So you start with the poke, the middle stun ability, and then the more stacks he has over his head, he can siphon mastery, and he multiplies his own mastery by that percentage. So to start, I have mine at Relic 9, he has 85 mastery. It's kind of complicated. The more it scales, he gets more crit chance, crit damage, and damage. So his damage, like whatever the base is, you're going to be multiplying that, and it's going to keep stacking, going through the roof. That's why he could solo the Sith raid originally. One thing you don't care about when you're modding him is crit chance. Like, he has more than enough crit chance. He's going to scale it to infinity, and they're only going to stop it if they have a crit immunity effect. So don't worry about crit chance. Just damage, speed, crit damage triangle. I would not give him a crit damage set because he scales crit damage a lot. He just wants higher offense to pull from. The plus, if you're not going for a pure health build, you want this offense like every time. You want good speed there too. Also, the circle, you want a health. You do not want protection. His base protection is terrible. You can see right there, it's 50k right now. His base is like 52,000 protection, which actually isn't low, relatively. Like, it's actually a lot for a character. But his health is over 100,000, where I have him right now, R9. So his health is much higher. Give him the health circle. If you can spare it, speed arrow. That's mainly how it works. I mean, it's hard to notice even a real difference among the approaches. Like, he just stacks his damage so high that you're not going to miss it. Just a fantastic character. Just is not going out of style. I don't see him ever going out of style. You're not going to regret having him. He's super valuable. That's it for this one, guys. It wasn't exactly brief, but I hope I gave you information you might have needed to get going with this faction. It's not the best faction, but to get it at a bargain steal is just that, it's a steal. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like if you did learn something or if you did enjoy. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Thanks, everyone. See you all later.